Duh. I had this microphone off. Okay, sorry for that. Thanks for pointing it out. So let me go over with you a little bit what we're gonna do in this class. So just a heads up. Hi, this is Roma with Holistic Dog Training, and okay, repetition now with the sound. It's my coffee. So yeah, we have coffee with behaviors today, and I'm in Eugene. I'm Roman. I have 4 dogs and a half, 3 dogs actually. The one just passed away. I'm still here, still working with my dog who passed away. Where are you guys from? Tell me about a little bit about your dogs. Where you watching from? And while I'm talking to you about my today's event workshop, which is at 3 o'clock Pacific time, and I would love you to be there. You need more coffee? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I need more coffee. So, what we're gonna talk today is about if you struggle with an aggressive or reactive dog, this is the workshop for you. So, we're gonna talk about here is basically how how to address aggressive behaviors, understanding the dynamics of an aggressive behavior. What is aggression? What is behavior? Why does the dog do these things? We're going to talk about episodic memory and how dogs perceive their environment and what we have to deal with when we try to address behaviors. We will talk about trauma. We're going to talk about how trauma is being set and how trauma can be against what your goal is, and how we set up the dog for success, not only just through conditioning and treats and petting, but building a secure attachment relationship, which is the key to successful behavior healing. And we're not talking about correcting behaviors. I'm not correcting behaviors. I want to heal behaviors at the very, very root, which usually has to do with the dog's past experience and the way he connects with his environment. So, okay, where you guys from? Gulfport. Oh, okay. Interesting. Gulfport. Sorry, my English is really miserable at this point. Gulfport. Okay. So, yeah, where are you guys all from? I'm Roman with Holistic Dog Training, and for you who do not know me well yet, well, that's an easy fix because I'm an integrative behaviorist and I'm with holisticdogtraining.org, and I specialize in any type of behaviors that are for canines and helping people improve their relationship with their dogs by using 100% emotionally appropriate and force-free approach. So, Mississauga, Ontario. Awesome. That sounds very cold up there. Oh no, I'm biased. No, it's not. I mean, we're in Oregon and it's cold. You guys may be cold too because you're just technically speaking more north than we are. But maybe we are. If we look at the curved Earth kind of thing, we may be kind of very close. Portland, here you go. Hi, neighbor. Hi, Stephanie. So yeah, that workshop is really something that I have very deep in my heart because it's basically a paradigm shift, um, and I feel you guys should know about it because we're coming from we're just walking out of a dark age of dog training and parenting styles, and we want to make sure that we are on the right path here because many times I see that people are using dog training and parenting in a kind of weird way, which I think we should stay away from. The reason why I'm talking about that is because I see all the time people struggling with their dogs. They don't have to. They're being programmed and conditioned to believe certain things about their dogs, and we have to stop that because it's unfair to the dogs to see them as pack animals. Dogs are pack animals. They have pecking orders. You have to be the pack leader. These are all ideas and concepts that just recently came up and they don't have really a base. So in this workshop, we're going to talk through a completely different approach that is more not more it is the most friendliest approach in animal care. We're focusing on a free dog because dogs out there are free. If we consider that we have 1.3 billion dogs out there living on Earth, only about 700 millions are pets. The rest are free roaming dogs, and they have cultures, they have friendships, they have societies. They're more complex than we actually think, and we discover every day new things. I remember having a conversation with a colleague who is working in India, and she's studying streeties, which are the dogs who live on the streets of India. She talked to me about how dogs not only have friends, they have also allies. And I was like, what? That sounds all right. And she's like, yeah, we have observed a couple of dogs who have relationships with their own group and then walk away from that group, go to another group, and basically hire other dogs to help them gain their territory back. And so they were organized about that. And those dogs, of course, didn't have a cash exchange. They did it for a purpose. And we're still struggling to understand the purpose of that. Why would a dog leave his own group, go to another group, and basically hire another dog to come to his group to fight a war and then walk away after that? It's kind of like really mind blowing. So we know more about the moon than we know about the dogs. And in this workshop, I would like you to have a broader understanding what we're dealing with when we're talking about aggression. How is aggression? I would also challenge the concept that aggression is necessary for a dog to function and survive. So he needs aggression, but where's the limit? Where aggression becomes an issue, where aggression is based on trauma and not on a functional behavior. And then we understand how functional behaviors work. We have to understand what to do about them. How do we set up the dog to be more comfortable in this environment for not showing those aggressions that are against people? So these are the things that we have to discuss, and it's kind of interesting. It's a 1 hour session. It starts at 3 o'clock Pacific time. And if you cannot make it, no big deal, because you're going to have a copy of the recording after the recording is over. So definitely something you should look out for. Cost, yeah, I know, cost. Everything is cost. So it's $37. No brainer, I know, right? Actually, my wife told me about, what? $37? Are you kidding me? I was like, you know what? It should be affordable for all the people. It's a lot of work to put this information together and talking about it and set everything up for you guys to better understand what's happening. You can literally, after that workshop, you can apply things. It's not just a blah, blah, blah thing, okay, forever. Once you can actually start working with your dog during the workshop, because we're going to have a segment at some point where you guys have to work with your dogs and then share your experience with it. Okay, it's very interesting how in that workshop we can actually improve our relationship with our dogs in no time. That, of course, affects the dog's environmental perception, and we better understand our dogs, right? So, do you guys have any questions to that? Now, in addition to that, I'm very interested to discuss with you our future workshops. I've kind of did a little bit of a turn now that we have our property and now that we can be a little bit more social and a little bit more outgoing as we were in the past. We're stuck in the RV, still stuck in the RV, but we're kind of like right now in transition. Like this month, we actually will move into a house. Yay. And I know some of you are following that process. Now, I also do a cooperation with the Rock Valley Humane Society, who actually did a fundraiser, not actually fundraiser, actually they got a grant to help their animals that they have there, the long-term stays and the dogs who need more training help. And they donated a shed, a dog training shed. They call it Money Cave. So Money Cave is a specific building that has dimensions about 10 by 20. And it's basically set up as home, like a home for dogs who are in transition from a shelter environment or long-term boarding or hoarding situations to start implementing going back into the real life. So the goal of that is more to do the study on this transition period and all these complex situations that are happening. And we're going to have a couple of dogs coming in. We're going to have, you know, recordings and everything. Everybody can follow through and watch all the individual steps that are happening. So that could be a program for fosters and rescues to apply into their own foster system, which is important because many times we send dogs who are in these kind of situations into a board and training facility, and those board and training facilities are not different than boarding or sheltering because there are dogs, there's stress, and other factors, and those dogs don't do well there. So, and then many times, these boarding facilities are forced on their belief system to go into harsh correction methods and punishing methods and fear methods, which is not helping the dog at all. It would suppress things. We're going to talk about that in the workshop too, how certain training techniques suppressing emotions, and that will backfire at some point, and we need to know about that, especially if you work with the dog on trauma. And that would be kind of a project that's ongoing, and yeah, I would love your support. Now, because I want to do a little bit more classes than we did last year, yeah, I know, I did only 2 classes. Anyway, I was in transition, like buying the house and moving in here. It's a lot of work. So now this year we are full into it. I have everything set up. We have specific programs, and logistically better to be planned. And here is what I was thinking to talk about. So the first thing I would like to talk about would be, or the courses that I have in plan are talking about canines, like about dog as a species. We talk about the history of dog training. We talk about the spiritual canine ethology, canine cognition, socialization and fear periods, the learning theory of dogs, how do we empathize ethics and morals in dogs. We're going to talk about canine basics, canine body language, and misconceptions and myths about dog training. So I think that would be a good workshop unit. So that will be unit number 1. So note it. Unit number 1, talking about canines. Actually, you know what? Let me share it with you because these are segments from my mentoring program, and why not? You should know about it. Okay, let's share screen here. Stop screen sharing and share new screen. Good. Okay, here we go. See, that was easy. Make it a little bit bigger. You go away from here. Here you go. So this is what would be the first chapter that we can talk about. So each unit, you can go and get the whole mentoring program, okay? But also if you know a lot of stuff and you just want to pick up pieces by pieces, we can do small workshop out of that. Then we have human canine relationships. That is a whole chapter in itself. Critical periods of canine development, canine human attachment relationships, 7 types of relationships in dogs, attachment and development, parenting styles, parenting children and canines at the same time, relationship traumas, family dynamics and synergistic relationships, factors that affect the dog's personality, and cognitive distortion in dogs. Wow, right? I know. So, what do you guys think? Is this something you guys are interested? How about you give me a thumbs up and we can talk about it. So, is this something that you would be interested in having a workshop about? And which one would you like to watch? Let's go through it a little bit so you guys can see what my plans are for this year. Is talking about canines, history of dogs, dog spirituality, canine ethology. Those are individual classes, okay? And I want to keep those classes at the cost that is affordable. For you guys who cannot wait for have to have everything accessible at the same time, I do have a mentoring program. So you go to my website, holisticdogtraining.org, click on training, and then click down. You will see a drop-down list, and you can do behavior healing mentoring program. And that is, you have directly access to all those workshops at the same time. Yeah, right. So yeah, the canine spirituality is something I'm really passionate about. I had no clue that's possible. If you would ask me 20 years earlier, I would say, what? Dogs are not spiritual. They're just like, just animals that just have this animal thing, and everything is controlled by their breed traits and, the drives. And I had a wake up call at some point and recognized there's a lot of spirituality behind dogs, and we wouldn't make it in our ascension process if we would have dogs supporting us through that process. So yeah, it's a very interesting chapter, and I have documentations. It's not just blah 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 thing. So we're going to look into how all ancient cultures saw dogs and how they perceive the spirituality of dogs, because it's something that's written. We have it as a fact, and we just forgot about it. And I don't know why we forgot about it, but we did. And I need to get our memory back. So I'm not talking something new here. I'm talking about helping you remember what we have done in the past. And yeah, this is something I would really passionate about talking, because it's very deep, especially it's very deep rooted in what I'm doing in animal behavior. Because here's an example, keep it very short. I don't want to sell my like on here stuff. Um, so when we're looking at the animal behavior, we look at the breed traits, we look at trauma, we look at um, environmental factors, and we miss a very important factor, which is a spiritual trait of a dog. Yeah, what do you think makes it different between a service dog and a hunting dog? It's just a breed, because I know dogs who are hunting dogs who are service dogs. How is that happening? What is the mechanics behind that? We're going to talk. So what is your experience, let's say, with dog spirituality? I know some of you guys are ultra spiritual, so you're not being judged here. I'm the first guy who says, I'm more spiritual with the help of dogs than with people. But let's talk about a little bit. What is your experience with dog spirituality? Time to type your stuff into the comments. And what made you come to that conclusion? Now, when we talk about, and I'm looking forward to your answers, right? I'm just continuing. I know we have a little bit of a delay here on the show. So the next thing I would like to look for is the relationship aspect. So my holistic on-training program is not just another, let's say, force-free training program. It is a training philosophy. It's a whole concept behind that. It is a paradigm shift into how we care for animals, and how do we treat animals, and how do we train animals, and how do we feed animals, and how do we interact with them, how do we build relationships, because all that is critical aspects of it. So we need to recognize that dogs have morals and ethics. They follow rituals. We need to understand those things, because if we don't understand those things, then the dog shows us some information and we miss that aspect, and then we ruin our relationship because the dog thinks we don't mind or we don't care about it, which causes other things to pop up. So in canine relationship, we're going to talk about critical periods of canine development, canine human attachment relationships. We're going to talk about the 7 types of relationships in dogs. And you're like, what? Dogs have relationships and 7 of those? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some of them are natural and some of them are synthetic. Synthetic, we'll talk about that. Then we're going to talk about attachment and development. We talk about parenting styles. Okay, how do we parent our dogs? And I know people freak out and says, "What? You're comparing dogs with children?" Yes, I do. I do compare dogs with children, because dogs have inner family system just like ours. Okay, they have a father and a mother. Okay, we call them the alphas. This coming from a breeding term. It's not the alpha theory here, right? So the breeding pair that has offsprings, and those breeding pair educate the offspring. And there are different ways to do that. And dogs don't come pre-programmed as parents. They learn from it. So if a dog has going through 1 or 2 generations of observation and how dogs are being parented, they learn from their parents how to parent their future offspring. So we know that dogs usually every 6 months have a litter. So in general, in a year, until the dog really is old enough, he's going through 2 generations of parenting experience. And that is a key factor, because what we're doing so far as of pets, we're dumping dogs down to the appropriate minimum. The dogs don't know how to parent. So if you adopt a puppy, for example, and you bring it back to your home, that dog has not experienced what to do with that puppy. And the other behaviors that come up, like aggression and territorial and resource guarding, all these things shouldn't happen if the dog is well socialized and well educated around handling, offspring. And by the way, the dogs likely are not his own, offspring, and so that causes other additional problems. So you need to know about that, especially you guys who are breeders need to understand, you know, how are these concepts coming into place when you adopt out a dog? What is the obligations of the adopter to follow through with your breeding traits? Then we're going to talk about relationship traumas. We're going to talk about family dynamics and synergistic relationships, how those family dynamics of multiple dogs in the same household can, you know, um, right, Karen. Yes, you have to honor. Um, mhm. And yeah, I feel you're right. You're on a hot spot there. There is a mirroring and something that we have to talk about, because if we're going through a trauma and we have a dog that accompanies us, sometimes it's a mirroring and sometimes it's a representation of what we feel like. It's kind of the opposite. And this is something we have to talk about, because we need to understand, if a dog does a certain behavior, what should I do about it? Sometimes it's me who triggers the behavior and the dog just represents it. How it feels like. How I feel like towards my environment, the dog will represent it to me and show it to me. And then the dog actually does exactly what I do, or the dog basically recreates the pattern that I have because I don't express it, so my dog does express it. This is kind of complex stuff that we have to talk. So yeah, the next thing we're gonna have to talk about um, is also factors that affect the dog's personality. People say think like, I'm seeing a Great Dane who is awesome, and I want a Great Dane now, so I'm going to a breeder, get a Great Dane, and expect to have the same Great Dane my neighbor has. Or I'm getting a Cane Corso because he's just thinking cute on the picture, and I'm reading all these reviews, and everybody says such great dogs, and easy to care for, which is weird that people actually say that. And then fall for it, and then all of a sudden they end up with a dog who is very reactive because they didn't see it coming. And then also we see that people take easy dogs and mess them up in short period of time because they didn't know how those dynamics happen in the house. And especially if you have multiple dogs in the house and you don't understand these factors and what affects the dog's personality, you're going to end up with a disaster because you don't recognize each dog's personalities and you don't see how those affecting each other. And then you have resource guarding, and then you have territorial aggression, and you have guarding issues, and you have all these issues that you actually don't know. And you hire somebody who has no clue about this stuff, you're just going to punish the wrong dog and going to work with the dog wrong way and make this a mess. And then we're going to talk about cognitive distortion in dogs. It's kind of more complicated, but don't get me into that right now. Then we talk about dog training in general. So what is the trainer's role in building relationships or preventing and addressing fear and stress in dogs? Because most of those, I see most of those training approaches come in with an angle of, I have to correct behaviors. I have to punish my dog. And we don't recognize that all it takes is being proactive and teaching the dog what you need to learn, right? So what is your take on that? Is it something you are interested in? Yeah. So displacement behaviors can be connected to the spiritual body, um, right? I agree with you, but we have to understand how it works, and if we understand how it works, then we can understanding why the dog shows this displacement behavior and how can we proactively work on that, because sometimes we have to take care of ourselves. okay, first, and then see how that works with the animal. And sometimes we have that representation adjusting to it. I know my wife, he's an intuitive healer, um, and energy practitioner. She used a modality, which is, reconnective healing and golden frequency modality, that she basically helps the dog become more aware and remove traumas in the etheric body, which helps the dog be more conscious about his relationships. And so the spiritual body is not being filtered or doesn't have an overlay that affects the dog's perception. You know, Karen, you know stuff. That's good. That's a good thing. Yeah. What else do we have to talk about? Yeah, we have the influence of development, emotional development in dogs. We miss that part. We always miss this emotional aspect of it. We actually correct emotional behaviors, and which is wrong and create an insecure dog. And we're going to talk about how emotions, rewards, and markers work in holistic dog training. We're going to talk about canine discrete trial training or two treat exercise. Some of you know already who work with me. And by the way, I'm Roman with Holistic Dog Training, just in case you just hopped in on a video. And I'm a integrative canine behaviorist, and I help people help their dogs through secure attachment relationship and learning to address their behaviors on their own with support and become their parent, stepping into their parenting power and helping their dogs. And you can reach me through my website, holisticdogtraining.org. I'm available for online sessions. I do this since 2009, so I'm not a newbie on that. And we can really create a big transformation. And by the way, just in case you hopped into, I have a running workshop right now. You can see it down in the line that passes by. Check in holisticdogtraining.org/event. Sign up today for the class that happens at 3 o'clock Pacific time. And it is about um, aggression and how we can heal aggression through secure attachment approach. So, what else do we have we can talk about this year? Yeah, triggering behaviors and identifying stressors. And how can we have a free will experience? People miss that. And I'm really sad about it because even though a force free approach is a good approach, sometimes it shifts a little bit because people are very persistent on the dog doing certain things and they're very pushy, forcing the dog into a behavior that a dog would not go on his own, which is not good. Okay, I'm not saying it is as bad as punishing behaviors, but luring a dog in an emotional experience that he's not ready for can be very traumatic and actually will backfire on you. So I don't want you to do that. Then we're going to talk about transition strategies in dogs. How can we move one behavior into another behavior by having the dog going through that experience himself, him coming into the conclusion, oh, so if I do this, huh, right, I'm going to try this more often, see if that works. And so we have the dog come to these experiences because the way the dog perceives that experience is how the dog will memorize it. And I know I'm just explaining to you. Sometimes people don't know that dogs have episodic memory, which is much more than we can remember. So they remember all those details. We don't have the brain for it because the dog has this ability to not store it in his brain, he stores it in his body. So he can remember things. You guys who do martial arts know exactly what an episodic memory looks like because you're going through a process of programming. And so for me, it's important you guys understand how this emotional programming happens so you can work with it, not having it against you. And then we're going to understand what is meaning between luring, shaping, and prompting. I know it's some classical, but many people make mistakes. We're going to talk about functional behaviors. We're going to talk about medical rule-out charts for you guys who are into this. And how can we trace back trauma and anxiety disorders into the root of those, understanding where it comes from, so we know how to counter address that. Canine trauma and treatment. I know you already figured it out. The yellow ones are my favorites. Okay. Um, can talk about stuck trauma in dogs. We're going to talk about basic manners, reinforcement, and reinforcers. Sometimes people forget the primary and secondary reinforcers. They think they do good by doing reinforcers but missing the primary and secondary reinforcers. They mix it up, and then the system doesn't work. We're going to teach the dog how to build tasks, jobs, and projects, so we can help the dog going through his better understanding of what is his job description. I know people struggling with creating job descriptions with their dogs, right? Yeah, we talked that. So if you guys have any questions so far, you're welcome to share it. Of course, you can share the video and you can share my class. Okay? If you guys who want, um, you're welcome to message me. And for you guys who are here and watching and supportive, I'm going to give you an extra discount code. Why? Because I have enough coffee. So message me. I can give you a special discount code to join the class. So what else can we talk about? We can talk about types of communications. People don't recognize how dogs communicate with each other. Many people actually don't even know that dogs are not only intuitive but also telepathic, right? They're empathetic. They can feel things. They can feel how you do. So your emotions and how you express them and even how you feel is a communication in itself. We're going to talk about troubleshooting behaviors in 5 steps, because once you understand those 5 steps, you can basically troubleshoot most of the behaviors as long as you understand the root of it. Dog proving and safety. Many people fail on that, especially around puppies and dogs who are just being adopted. We talk about training equipment, what tools you can use, should use, or 100% avoid. We're going to talk enrichment in dogs. Yeah, it's not just Kong toys, okay? I know. That's not the other ones is more for those who going through my mentoring program so they can better understand how to handle complex situation in his home. And then we have energy and healing. That's my favorite too. You see there are more yellows there. How does synergistic healing work? Understanding the canine energetic synthesis. Talking about the invisible dog, how trauma, blockages, and energies affect behavior, and how can we actually tap into that aspect. That is, guys, I would definitely sign up for that course. I mean, the other ones too, but that in particular is kind of like a mind-blowing experience. It's a modality, it's a training modality where you can go into the dog's energetic fields and all these energetic energetic systems and tap into their energy and start recognizing traumas and blockages, and you'll be able to remove those blockages and recognize where they're coming from and actually heal it. I know it's super woo-woo, right? Then a guide to congenital and inheritable disorders in dogs, understanding what's happening there. Then we're going to talk about different types of healing modalities, especially you guys who are more into behavior healing. How do we get those modalities to work for us and not against us? And then my wife has also an intuitive development class. We're going to talk about that as separate, where you guys who are feeling a little bit more inclined to this energy work, how can you sharpen and super boost your intuitive tools? So she has an intuitive development class. We're going to talk about that. So enrichment and emotional management, very important, because if you don't teach your dog how to enrich and emotionally and entertain your dog in your home, then you're going to have problems like for separation anxiety and this stuff. We're going to talk about stuck survival trauma. Wow, right? I know some of you guys have complex traumas. I'm one of those, and welcome to the club, I guess. Stuck survival trauma can happen to dogs, and we need to understand how it works, and we need to understand also how to help your dog through fascia tissue clearing. Synergistic healing is a modality that I would love you to learn if you want, if you're interested into that. It's a very advanced thing, super energetically, but it comes with a cost. You have to do a lot of work, okay? Other things that we can talk about is teaching parents and kids, especially you guys who have children or expecting children or want to adopt a dog. You need to understand how human communication and learning keeps clients engaged, especially you guys who are professionals, to identify the client's goals and help them integrating their parenting skills they have already with the children into the dog. I want to definitely clear out the difference between balanced training, positive training versus holistic training. You need to guys understand the difference. Um, and then, yeah, this is more for dog trainers who are going through this process. We're going to talk about nutrition and how food-related behaviors and how they affect behaviors and how it can cause aggression. Let's see if we have any questions. Um, yes, all this what we just discussed, all this thing is the overview of my mentoring program. It's about 6 months. It's 100% online, and it goes through everything at your pace. Like the fastest you can get through it is 6 months. It involves, I know it's online, but it's very, very hands-on. So usually what's happening, I have people basically take on a dog from a shelter and work the dog up to the adoption. That will be the first learning experience. Before that, already I have, there are two parts of joining. You have already a pre-existing experience with animals, so you're an animal professional. And if you have never worked with animals, it takes a little bit of a longer course. So there's a pre-course before that, so we can talk about that. To keep you up to speed with the basics of canine behavior, basics canine training, so understand, how to teach your dog force-free um, behaviors like sitting and the classical obedience things that come from completely different perspective as the classical training is so far. And I would like you to know about that. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions, if you go to my mentoring program, the thing you can do is schedule a mentoring appointment, like pre-appointment, so we can sit down and can answer all the questions. We can go through the process, get a little bit of see how it works for you. It could be something that's awesome for you, something that's kind of like not a good idea for different reasons. So you have the right to learn about it. Yeah, definitely something you should look out for. Or most of these things, which is rare, but you may have um, remember your own skills and you just want to have some information speaking out of that works for you best. Yeah, you can get those individual too. Let me know about that. Anything else? Yeah, I just mentioned it like 3 times. Barbara says, did you talk about your class? Because I never do. I know I have a thing with self-promotion. Not really. um, yeah. What do you guys think so far? Is it something you're interested in? Um, if you want, you can message me. We can talk about stuff if you're interested in something, um, and post it in the comments, right? What else do we have here? Yeah. Um, yeah, we can talk about some business and marketing, about stuff, especially you guys who want to go online. I would highly recommend um, to do that workshop, that mentoring program, because it will help you work with that a little bit better. It's not as easy as it sounds. Like, I know many people hop in the wagon because of COVID, and everybody like, yeah, okay, we're doing online training because I cannot get my people in the class, and then they fail. And not only they fail their dogs and they fail their families. And I don't want you to be one of them. It takes a lot of preparation and a lot of um, training to do it correctly and not failing the system, because you are not there, the people are there. And there are things that we need to understand, like, how do I translate? Oh, here you go. Yeah, I don't, sorry, I didn't see because it says Facebook user. I don't know who you are, so thanks, Bonnie. And it's important for you guys to recognize, how do we set up an online session? What things do we need to know? What do the clients need to know? How do you protect yourself of mistakes that are not your fault? How do you prepare the family to not fail their dog? How do you help the dog to not fail the family? And there's a kind of complex things that we need to work on. It's not just, you use an online thing and just you go online and do online training. That's not what it is. Okay, it's more complex than that. There are family dynamics that come in place. There are traumas that come in place for both sides, dogs and people, and you're going in there and you have to help both sides. So yeah, that kind of stuff. What else do we have? We can talk about troubleshooting behaviors. Yeah, I know it's a short chapter. It's kind of like, yeah, troubleshooting behaviors, right? But that is a whole pyramid of things. However, the funny part of those is that once you understand the concept, you will be able to solve pretty much everything that comes up in a dog relationship or in a dog behavior, because you can find with precision what exactly is the reason why my dog does it. Will you be a magician? No. Will you be a psychic? No. Will you be intuitive? Yes. Will it help your clients? Yep. Will it help your dog? Yep. Will it help your neighbor's dog? I don't know. Depends on your neighbor, I guess. So there are things that can happen and things that will not happen. One thing that will not happen is you will not be, how do I say that? You will not be disappointed. I'm telling you that. Um, Everybody who did my mentoring program got very happy about it. And I want you to be part of it. That's it. And we need more people who come with a healthy common sense and apply ethics that are good for animals, because there are two categories here. There are ethical people who are ethical in a humane perspective, in a human perspective, and they're unethical towards the dog perspective because they don't see the difference. Well, what's wrong with correcting the dog? He needs to, do this, and I need to save him from a shelter. It's all good, right? I get it. But at what cost? I have all these arguments coming in all the time, um, for with trainers and actually with people. They justify the methods. They says, well, if I wouldn't do that, the dog will be dead. Sure, of course, I heard that before. But here's the aspect of, you have other options. They are much more effective than that, and they are long-term effective and not short-term effective. You can use a duct tape. No big thing. Do a duct tape. Would you put duct tape on your brakes? No, you wouldn't. Why not? Because you're putting yourself into a risk. Duct tape hold a little bit, but how long, right? And so with dog training, it's the same thing. If you use duct tape to your methods and you use tools to plumb it, it will not last long. It will help you feel good at that point. It makes you good as a trainer because you leave and the dog, well, is trained, right? You walk away from it, and then you can blame the others for making the mistake. Or you can literally go deep and says, you know what? I helped that dog shift his mindset about things, and he makes different choices. He makes different choices because he feels good making those choices, and not out of fear, but out of confidence and relationship. Because a dog will make a different choices having a relationship with a person or not having a relationship with a person. Here's the difference between you being the dog's parent, like a human parent, the adoptive parent, not the obviously not the biological parent. I don't know. I guess not. And then you can be a stranger. So you see, just for that simple thing, you recognize, oh, wait a minute, there's something going on here. So just because you adopted a dog doesn't give you parenting rights. That has to be earned. And how do you earn it? You cannot just force it like most people do. Oh, I adopted you. I'm your boss. Now I'm going to tell you what to do. And, I'm bossing you around. And if you're not complying, I'm going to use a choke collar, a pound collar, a collar, whatever collar. And that's not what we do. We're better than that. Um, yeah, it's a learning curve. I'm not okay, let's put it different. I'm not blaming you for being in that space. I want you to show you a way out, because I know if you would have a way out, you will take it. Because back there a couple of years ago, I didn't feel good about it, because I was basically conditioned to believe that these are the good ways out, but it's not. And it was a very hard learning curve. And I don't want you guys to go through that. Now, I'm in a better place that I believe, and I want to share with you that. And that's why we have those classes, and that's why we have these online talks all the time, and that's why we have still coffee. So, okay, folks, 10 minutes left. Any questions do you guys have? Now it's time, because my coffee gets lower and lower, and then I have to stop it because I need more coffee. And by the way, for you guys who have guardian breeds, National Great Pyrenees Rescue has um, a National Great Pyrenees Rescue show, right? On their Facebook website, on their Facebook page, blah blah. Okay, got it now. And we're gonna talk about stuff. I have no clue what questions they have. Oh, thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. You shine back, right? You shine more. Everybody should shine. Everybody is a light in here, right? And I think it's important for us to recognize that you have the power and you should have that freedom to work with your dog, not in fear and not in stress. And whoever tells you that you're wrong and you have to be punished and um, you know, you have to do this and that to your dog to earn that, it's no. You have to really, really be in alignment with understanding who you really are. And dogs know who you are. They have an understanding on who you are and what your purpose is, and they try to help you get there, and they offer behaviors. And sometimes, okay, a quickie. I had a client called me, not a client, he was the client, actually never been a client. I think it was like 3 years ago. It was a Presa Canario, and this guy had a Presa Canario. It was about 13 months old, if I remember. And he called me because he wanted to connect to a rescue to surrender his dog. And he was describing the dog is aggressive, he's biting him, he's bleeding sometimes. And I was like, oh man, I know the rescue will take him. So I was just listening. And then at some point, it was my turn to ask questions. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I want to ask you a couple of questions, sir. And I was wondering, how is this, when is this happening? And he's like, yeah, usually in the afternoon. Okay. Usually in the afternoon, dogs get a little bit more excited about this stuff. And then something in my mind told me, ask him what he's doing when he gets bit by his dog. And I was like, internally seeking, it's not my business. I mean, he's not in training with me. I don't care what he does. Yes, I do, but I tried to keep myself out of it. But no, I had to ask that question. So, pop, it popped out. I was like, when your dog is biting you, what do you do? Oh, I punch him back. No, that's not what I meant. I was meaning, what are you doing while you're working? I didn't even go to that statement into. And he says, well, I'm on my computer. I was like, how long are you sitting on your computer? Oh, I'm kind of like 9 hours, 10 hours. I'm like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a programmer. Oh, okay. And then something in my head told him, ask him about medication. And I was like, why would I ask him for medication? And my smart self says, just ask it. And I was like, come on. Okay. Have you recently taken any medication that your dog may be kind of like reactive to? Like, do you take any medication or stop taking medication? And he's like, yeah, I am bipolar and I'm on bipolar medication, but because of my weight issues, I stopped taking them lately. I kind of feel better about it. And ooh. And then I asked him, when did actually this biting thing start? Oh, about 3, 4 weeks ago. And I said, when did you stop taking your medication? Oh, about like. And he's like, oh shit. And I was like, what? I knew the answer, but I was like, what do you mean? It started when I stopped taking my medication. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So I have the feeling, I told him, that your dog is trying to help you. If you're going downhill, he wants you to stop what you're doing and get out. If you're going into a depression thing, you cannot get yourself out of there. Your dog is helping you. So and you have a service dog, man. You have a dog who saves you, eventually your life. And he was quiet, and then he starts crying, and he's like, I always knew he's a special dog to me, but I got so frustrated. He's biting me all the time. And I was like, you know what? He's your service dog. He's your medical alert dog. He's telling you you have to take your medication or you need to get help. And if your dog snaps and once he gets your attention and you punch him on his nose and then he bites you, it's because he wants you to move from your butt off that chair and get out in oxygen, get some vitamin D, get your body movement, and don't suck into the systems. And you're like, yeah, I know. Like, okay, good. So let's talk about the rescue. Do you still want to surrender your dog? And he's like, no, are you kidding me? I'm just asking. So you see, a short conversation, understanding, and questions to ask, and trying and trust your higher smart self. I usually don't listen to it, but I should listen more. I'm just saying, listen to your smart self will help you be a better trainer, be a better parent. And these workshops will help you get those skills little by little. It's not too much. You will not drown in it. But little by little, you can go through it and learn from it in a healthy pace. Okay, you guys are really, really heroes here. You already last 57 minutes. So yeah, coffee on you guys. So I need to get going. Would love to see you in the class today. And let me share with you just sure on the way out, just in case you didn't remember what to look at. Here you go. Let's make it bigger. So you're looking at this class. So you go in holisticdogtraining.org/events, and then you click on this online workshop. And I promise you, next week you're gonna see much more workshops there. And I would love your feedback. You can email me, you can text me which workshop you would like to attend, and I'll make sure I'm gonna make them first, so you don't need to have to wait so long. Maybe I'll let you suffer a little bit. Okay, so thank you so much for joining today, and have a great rest of your weekend. And love your dog, feed them healthy, be patient. They just want to help you. You just have to help them back. Okay, so have a great rest of your week. Bye bye.